Okay, so this is a video on the law of attraction. So a subject I've been studying for probably at least 20 years. So I'll be looking away occasionally to look at my notes so I can tell you everything that I want to tell you. Most people in the world believe they're living in the universe, which is of course the physical universe, and they think it's just a bunch of random events. Whereas people who have studied the law of attraction realise that there's actually something else going on. So in a way, we're kind of partly living in another type of universe, which is like the thought universe, or what we think of in the spiritual thinking people would think of in the spirit world, or comes from the spirit world, because we are spirits living in a human body. So really, it's just like most other subjects. It's not a question of black and white. It's different shades of grey. And when you study the law of attraction, you'll realise that you're actually on that spectrum somewhere, and you're never going to go into a universe where you're completely at the law of attraction and then you can do anything you want to. Because I mean, some people, for example, in the area of romance, they're probably attracting the perfect man or they're attracting the perfect woman. Well, that person actually doesn't exist, so you can't actually attract something that doesn't exist. So there are limits to it. Children tragically die in car accidents. Children sometimes die in earthquakes, and they're not even at the point where they understand what earthquakes or car accidents are. So they're living in the physical universe, and that you could say they attracted that. I don't know whether that's true or not, but the point is they're still subject to the laws of the physical universe. So this is just a thing where it's a question of degree, how much of a degree. And I think we're really living in two universes, and one impacts on the other. And a really interesting thing that I looked up recently was of all things, the presidents of the United States. And if you study the presidents of the United States, the second, third, and fourth presidents, the second, third, and fourth presidents of the US all died on exactly the same day. And that is just an amazing statistic. And if you look it up on your phone and you look up your calculator and you type in 365 multiplied by 365 multiplied by 365, it comes up at 48.5 million. The chances of that happening are 48 million to 1. And let's just round that off to 50 million to 1, just for the sake of easiness. And most US presidents, of course US presidents are elected once every 4 years. Let's say it's 5 years, because you do get some presidents that are here for 2 terms. And so if it's every 5 years, then every 5 years on average a US president dies. So these are the days that they died on. I don't know whether I said they were born on that day, but I meant they died on that day. So anyway, if you multiply 50 million multiplied by 5, because you only get one of them die every 5 years, you're looking for that to happen again, for 3 US presidents in a row to all die on the same day. You're going to be sitting there in that seat for the next 250 million years. Not million, billion. You would have to sit in that seat for the next 250 million years for that eventuality to happen again. And another amazing thing about it, of all the days they could die, it was on the July the 4th, which of course is American Independence Day. So what are the chances of that happening? I would say there's something else going on. Something else going on rather than just pure chance there. And of course, if you believe in the physical universe, you can't make any sense of that. So anyway, I think there's a big difference between believing something and knowing something, and I'm very scientific the way I approach spirituality, which is different to most people who just have a belief system. And that's fine, each to their own. But Abraham Hicks says we ought to do 15 minutes a day to attract things, and unless you really have done that for a month, you can't really say whether it's working or not. And a lot of people don't really have the belief or self-discipline to do it for that period of time. But I actually had back in 2006, I had a group for the law of attraction, and 2006 was a perfect year to start that, because that was a year that the book The Secret came out, which was a massive, massive book. And it actually, funnily enough, there was a book called The Law of Attraction that came out in 1906. And it was a very, very popular book. It was the top of the bestsellers for a long time. But anyway, what I did is I thought, well, I'll try some experiments. And I was talking to a friend of mine that was into this, and we decided on trying to attract a blue balloon. Because we thought, well, attract balloons, I'll attract a blue balloon. So that's something I used to do a lot of driving at the time, and I was always looking out. And it does take a while to this actually manifest. And I attracted about 4 or 5 blue balloons within the next couple of months. And I was looking out for balloons, and I didn't see any other colours, only the blue ones. And you know, I would say if it was other colours. So that was my big experiment, the blue balloons. And one of the blue balloons, I was parking my car on the street. This is a highway, and there was as I was getting out of my car, this blue balloon was bouncing across the road, and it came and almost exactly to my feet where I was standing. That was one of them that I remember. And another one I remember because of all things, I was at a Abraham Hicks seminar, and it was a lunch break. And I came out of all these hundreds of people piling out of the Abraham Hicks seminar for the lunch break. And it was a warm day in Sydney. And what I did is as I was coming out, there was a blue balloon bouncing around outside of the Abraham Hicks seminar. And what are the chances of that? So I thought, well, this is going to get more hard now. I'm going to make it more difficult for myself. And I thought, well, what I'll do now is I'll attract money. I'll attract note money rather than coins, because I know I haven't found note money on the street for 20 years, it was at the time. So I thought, well, all right. So I just kept on thinking, you know, but you've got to picture yourself actually finding this and grabbing it. You've got to picture yourself finding it and grabbing it, right? And anyway, a few weeks or whatever it was went by, and I ended up finding a $20 note, and it was in the grass in a little median strip where I used to live as I was starting my car up, because Australian $20 notes are red. And I saw something red in the grass, and I went over and grabbed it, and it was a $20 note. And then a few weeks later, I found another $20 note, and it was 2 meters under the water when I was swimming at my favourite beach. Because the banknotes are plastic, so they obviously don't disintegrate in the water. So those two things really, really helped convince me. And I am not a person to have a bad memory on this sort of thing, and I'm definitely not a sort of person who will just make shit up because it just, you know, for attention or anything. I know a lot of skeptics are probably watching this and think that. So all I do is I implore you to do the same thing, try it yourself, right? But you've got to just keep picturing it. When you're at the doctor's surgery, you've got nothing to do, and you're just waiting time, or waiting in a queue at the post office, or you're just, you know, all this time that we spend, we do nothing to do, just picture yourself doing it. But the most important thing when you picture it is you've got to have that joy feeling, that surprise feeling, that amazing feeling that you know, it's all about the energy and emotion that you're doing it. Don't do it if you're feeling tired, don't do it. Just do it when you wake up in the morning, when your energy is at its highest, and you just really got to get into it. Put some music on, get your feeling of joy up. When you're in that feeling of joy, that's the time to picture this stuff, because you can picture something with your eyes closed or your eyes open, and that's what I do. So then what I did after that is I thought, all right, well, I'll picture what I'll do is I'll get a pack of playing cards. I'll pick a card out of a pack of playing cards, and I'll mock up or create that playing card. And what I picked was a 4 of hearts. And you're better off picking a low number, because it's easier to picture a low number. It's very hard to imagine a 7 of clubs, because you've got to imagine 7 clubs, right? So just pick a low number, and it was just a 4 of hearts. And then for quite a while I was just going 4 of hearts, 4 of hearts, 4 of hearts, 4 of hearts, you know, in my spare time. You know, because this is this is not a trivial thing. This is a really major part of your spiritual growth, I believe. And what we see is what we get, and then you'll get to a point of knowing it really works, right? So anyway, cutting a very long story short, I did this for a month or two, the Four of Hearts, and then one day I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just walking along the street in this industrial area, and I saw this Four of Hearts, and it was on the mud, and there's a little bit of grass growing around it, and you can just see how the grass shoots were just starting to shoot up through the card, and anyway, I souvenired all of this stuff, and at the time with my Law of Attraction group, I actually used to give people a card, you know, or I used to get them pick a card out, and I had at least 5 people, I think it was from memory, it's either 4 or 5 people that also attracted that exact playing card that they picked out of the group. So that just completely confirmed it to me. But unfortunately, since that time, I haven't had virtually no success at attracting this sort of thing. Because I really believe that a lot of it has got to do with the joy and fun of doing something for the first time. You know how it is when you do something for the first time? It's a lot more fun than if you keep trying to do it. So anyway, that's my experience. I haven't had any much success since then. And I have tried many times before, many times since that experience. Oh yeah, the other couple of things I wanted to say was that I knew a lady once who was a very, very positive person, positive person. I remember going to meet her once, and just before I met her, I found a $10 note on the floor. And I put that down to the fact that she's a very positive person, and I think if you mix with positive people, you're more likely to have funny things like that happen. I also know a guy, and he used to say to me, oh, you know, you see so many accidents around in this particular town we were living in, and I thought, no, you know, I don't. And it's like, I thought, well, it must be just you, you know. And then there was another person I knew once who was a very negative, down scale kind of person, and she was at my place at the time, and there was these 2 cockroaches that went flying through the room, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. I lived in that place for 18 years, and I never knew of that happening before or since. And I thought, well, is that me or you? So I thought, well, possibly people create these things. But so the more and more evidence that you collect, the more and more you're going to be certain that this is a reality. And that's my experience from it. I hope you enjoyed listening to the story, and I'd love to hear in your comments what sort of success you've had. You know, you've got to give it a good fair go before you say it's true or false. Don't believe me, but then don't believe anyone else. Try it for yourself.